accidentally cut 772 help desk tickets. Twice in 15 minutes. The worst part was I didn't even know that I had done it until the entire help desk team came up to my desk and they invited me down to help them close 1,544 tickets. And it was after some time and therapy and a lot of alcohol that I was able to think back on that moment, reflect, and ask myself what went wrong. And obviously there's a lot of blame to go around, but was it the tool? Was it the operator? It's hard to know. And what I think it was an immature view of what alerts are and what they're supposed to do for us. So I'd like to thank you for coming to my talk, Alerts, the Root of All Evil, or the Seeds of Our Success. My name is Leon Adato. I'm a middle-aged white dude giving a talk at a conference. You don't need to know anything else. And this picture is clearly giving you confidence that I know what the hell I'm talking about. What's more important is that you understand this is an oyster talk. Now, what I mean is I have 20 minutes, maybe, barely that. I can't teach you anything in 20 minutes. In fact, in 20 minutes, the only thing I can do is irritate you. Now, when an oyster gets irritated, it does one of two things. It creates a beautiful pearl, or it dies. I hope I don't irritate you to death. The choice is yours. Instead, what I hope is that I give you just the grain of an idea that you will then layer over with your own ideas and experiences until what you have is something that is beautiful and personal and valuable. So, alerts. The SRE handbook tells us, I have to read this, an alert is a notification intended to be read by a human that is pushed to a system such as a bug or ticket queue, an email alias, or a pager. Not to blaspheme the Holy Scripture, but what the FSCK am I supposed to do with that? How am I supposed to think that alerts are anything except pointless and noise? And the reason why I feel that is the SRE handbook hasn't told me the value of an alert. And that's what this talk is really about, is how to make our alerts more valuable. I'm going to do that with 5 lessons, and I'm putting the important stuff right up front. If you remember nothing else from this talk, here are the 2 takeaways I want you to know. First of all, inbox rules that handle your alerts are like assholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. Okay? If you have a rule to move your messages into another folder, you have admitted defeat. You have said, I'm not dealing with this right now. Okay, and the only time to deal with alerts is right now. That is the only valid time frame. That's the first thing to remember. Second thing to remember, welcome to the lovely hill that I'm willing to die on. It's called There Are No FYI Alerts. I know you hear this all the time. Well, I don't do anything the first time. It's good to know if I see the same message 4 or 5 times in 15 minutes, then I do something. Tell you what, Sparky, how about I give you one alert when that thing happens 4 or 5 times in 15 minutes, you get off your ass and you do it. All right? I don't get paid by the kilo for alerts. So those are the 2 things to remember. No FYI alerts and no inbox rules. There's actually a pretty simple way to know whether something should be an alert or not. It's a simple algorithm. Oh, cool. Okay, can you hear me? Yay! I can wander. So that algorithm is, if a human is going to do something right now about a problem that is happening right now, then it's an alert. If that's not true, if all those things are not true, it's not an alert. Next question, of course, is, well, what is it? Well, if it doesn't involve a human, it's automation. If it doesn't involve right now, it's a report, something you can peruse later at your leisure. If it doesn't involve a problem, then it's a dashboard. It's just nice information you can go look at. And if it doesn't involve something you're ever going to do anything about, delete it. It's not doing anything. The whole point of monitoring and alerting is to actually do something, some action. So, some examples of the ways that we screw up alerts. Sorry, guys. Okay. Next week, we are all going to receive a present from our boss for Hanukkah, right? It's going to be a shiny new monitoring tool. And we are going to unwrap it, and we are going to set up a CPU alert. And I have news for you. CPU alerts are bullshit. High CPU doesn't matter. It never mattered. If I have a system that is running at high CPU and it's getting all the work done, you know what I call that? Correctly sized. Now, If I have a system that is running at high CPU, and also there are more jobs in the processor queue than I have CPUs to deal with them, and also people are complaining, or the shopping cart's being abandoned, or things aren't getting done, now I have a problem. What I just described is something very different than just high CPU. It's over 98%. That's not the same thing. So that's really what I'm talking about making our alerts matter, having that context. Another example. No, really, there we go. Another example. Everyone looks at things and they make assumptions about what the problem is. We can all see what the problem is, right? 4,000, it's a leap of 4,000 thingies, whatever they are. By the way, I got this slide from Leon, not me, Leon Fayer. If you have a chance to see either Leon's, Fayer is the better one to pick. He's amazing. Anyway, we all look at this slide, we see this and we say, oh, I'm gonna deal with that, right? That's where the problem is. No, it's not. Not necessarily. This could be elastic compute. It could be that we were running really low, and so we shut down a bunch of systems, and now we're being more efficient about our resource usage. Or it could be end-of-month processing, or it could be a lot of things. But it may not be a problem. What we all missed, that's also 4,000. But our human brains don't see that. That's what monitoring and observability tools are really built to help us out with. Now, obviously not just that. It has to have context. It has to have all the other things. But that's really what we want to be looking for. Before I go too much further, I want to talk about monitoring and observability. A lot of my examples seem to be talking about old style monitoring versus new style, the known unknowns versus the unknown unknowns. Really, that's not the case. What I'm talking about is being more systematic and thoughtful about how we collect our data, about how we communicate information to other people, and about how we detect anomalies, which is true regardless of our frame of reference, regardless of the tool that we use, and regardless of the level of complexity. So I don't want you to think that I'm only talking about one style versus another style. Lesson number 2, you need to talk to people. I know, we're in tech, we don't like to, it's DevOps days, right? We talk to people. It's important to talk to people nicely. Nobody's a homicidal, sociopathic killer clown. Okay, but you want to talk with people with the same level of determination as a detective who's on the trail of the real killer of my app 123. You want to ask deep questions and not give up until you find out what's important, what matters, where performance is intrinsic and where it's not. So you have to have some questions in your back pocket to be able to get there. So I call this the hunt for the useful alert, because the first person you speak to when you're building an alert is probably not the one who's going to have the answer. The first person is the requester. And I have news for you. They lie all the time because you are just a road bump on the way to getting pushed to production. That's what they want to do. They're going to tell you anything to get past you. Oh yeah, this application's amazing. It's made of rainbow farts and unicorn spit. It's never going to, they're going to tell you anything. You need to ask some deep penetrating questions so that you find out what's really going on. So some of the questions that I tend to ask. First one, how do you know something went wrong? If they can't answer that, you're talking to the wrong person. If they can, you're going to find out a lot about the things you're supposed to monitor and collect data on, and also what a real alert trigger looks like. How do you know when it's all better? Now, this is a little bit weird, right? Like, we tend to think of all better as, well, I trigger when this happens, and I say it's all better when it stopped happening, right? It's just an on-off. That's not the case. Sometimes things trigger because of all of this stuff, but the all better looks very different. It's way down here with a whole other set of metrics to go along with it. So you need to be aware of that. It also, again, tells you the context and what you want to collect, the information you're going to be reporting on, and also that alert trigger that you're going for. Is there a knowledge article for it? Yet. Because there needs to be a knowledge article for it. If they don't know how to fix it, why the hell would you alert on it? What really are they doing? Like, they have to have an idea of what's going on, okay? If they don't have that, then you want to, again, continue to push. That's going to give you more context and more information. Can you make it happen? You would not believe the number of times when I have an alert and they give me all this glorious information and they don't know if it's actually going to work or not. They've never seen the thing happen. They don't know. They can't. Now, there's one kind of alert that you don't want to do. It's the kind of thing where you say, oh, this alert will tell me when the data center's on fire. No, don't make that happen. But the idea is that if they have no idea how this should happen, then they probably don't know enough and you're not ready to make an alert. And the last one, have you seen it happen in the wild? Until I have seen something occur in the wild, it's not real. Because I have hundreds of alerts that I built and they really meant it and they really needed it. And after a year and a half, it's never happened. And all it's doing is taking up processing and CPU cycles and workload that could be going someplace else. So there's one question I left off. This takes me to lesson number 3. When something goes wrong, what do you do about it? Because the most incredibly effective moment to deal with a problem is right when it happens. And alerting is right there when it happens. And if there's a way to automatically respond, that is a powerful thing. So what do you do when something happens? Oh, I typed the Gafrinko. Okay, Israelis, put your phones down. That's not a real word. Okay, kishkush balabush. It's nothing. I don't want to cause an international incident. Okay, they typed the Gafrinko key. Okay, oh, well, how about I type the Gafrinko command for you right when that happens and I tell you if it works. That's what automation, good automation looks like. For real, in real life, just to use an example, I've got a IIS-based web application and it's running slow. Anybody who's managed an IIS application knows that there's a few standard things you always do. First, you clear the application pool. Second, you restart the IIS service. Third, you restart the server. Fourth, you vMotion it over to another host or you move it or whatever. If that doesn't work, okay, fine. So those are all automation things. Those are things I can do automatically, wait in between. And if the problem doesn't go away, now I will go wake up the human at 2 o'clock in the morning and use their big human brain to try to figure it out. Okay? But that's the power of automation. Now, the next thing that people are thinking is, oh, great, Leon, you're just going to be one more damn thing I have to do, right? Wrong. For a monitoring engineer, for people who are building this kind of stuff, all you need to do is create a wrapper script. When this happens, go do the thing. Then the people who are going to benefit from the automation, the people who asked for the alert, the people who asked for the monitoring, they're the ones who will build the actual automation inside of it. You'll collect up all the information. This is when I started the process. This is the output when it came out and everything. If they need it to change, they can control that. You're just controlling the wrapper. There is a division of labor there so that you're not managing 3,000 scripts that you had to write yourself. Okay, lesson number 4. When you start to do monitoring, there are 4 questions you will get asked almost immediately and all the time. So I call these the 4 questions, right? Now, this is a whole other talk that I've given before. And in fact, I've written a book on it. There we go. This book is so nuanced and so sublime that I would recommend you buy 2 copies each just to make sure you don't miss any of the points in there. Just saying. But for today, I'm just going to summarize these 4 questions. Question number 1, why did I get this alert? You hear that a lot, right? We have all received the one on the right, right? Your system's down. Which one? Don't know. What am I supposed to do with that? And the answer here is just give a lot of information. Give more than you think you need to have. The name of the system, the IP address of the system, what the threshold was that was breached, what the thing was, the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just give more information. If they have more information, they will not be asking you, why did I get this alert? 2 pieces of information that people don't include that you should. 1, the name of the alert. If you create 1 alert, you will have 250 within the next week. I promise you. And they will all look the same, and you will have no idea which one actually made this message. So put the name of the alert in the alert so that when someone says, why did I get this? You can go right back and you can edit it because you know where you're going. The other thing is, what's the system that detected the problem? Not the system with the problem, the one that detected it. Because in this day, with things moving across zones and moving across regions, sometimes the system isn't slow. It's that the speed of light is still the speed of light. And I was monitoring it from Australia, and the system is now in Las Vegas. So you want to make sure that they know that information also. Question number 2, why didn't I get an alert? This comes down to 3 things. 1, it was designed like that. You put in a timeout. You put in a blackout window on Sunday because there's, change control window or whatever, whatever it is. Okay. Number 2, uncontrolled change. Something went different IP address, different system name. The tagging was changed and nobody told you. Number 3, monitoring failed. It happens. It's an imperfect world. Sometimes something in the monitoring system, you need to monitor your monitoring. Otherwise, you're not going to know when something in the supply chain failed. Question number 3. What is being monitored on my system? Now, this is ugly. Don't try to make this. But the idea is that you need to have an automated system that where somebody can say, here are my things, my entities. What is being collected for that? So they can say, oh, you missed this. I need you to collect this also. Or, oh, I don't want that. That's not important to me, or whatever. But your tool has to be able to automatically spit that out. It can't be a manual effort. Question number 4, what could alert for my systems? Not what is alerting right now, but what could alert? Now, I think it's pretty clear what we want to see, right? Again, an inventory of here's all my systems, here's all the alerts that could trigger, but why? And that takes us back to what alerts are. What alerts are they're an emergency, they're an interruption, they're unplanned work. What they need to be is timely and meaningful and effective, actionable, okay? And what I'm saying is that the requester, the person who's talking to you, is trying to staff. They know that every alert is representing a certain amount of time, a certain amount of cost, a certain amount of effort. And what if 7 of them go off at the same time? If they don't know which ones could possibly trigger, they have no way of allowing for that when they're figuring out what could go wrong and how many people they need to respond to it. Next question. Okay, I'm in Israel. You know for a fact that if someone says they have 4 questions, they don't just have 4 questions. Question number 5, what comes standard? This gets you into a really circular conversation. Hey, I need some monitoring. Okay, great. Do you want anything special? Well, what do you do standard? Oh, the usual things. Well, I don't know what the usual things are. So what they're asking for is basically a menu. You have a Java app that's running on Kubernetes with Pixie in the background or whatever, where here's what you get automatically. Here's what I can do for you without any effort. Is that enough? Is that too much? Do you need something else? Without you being able to describe that, they will not be able to ask for more, and your alerting will be ineffective because you haven't done as much as they wanted. Oh, whoop, there we go. Okay. Last lesson. This one is the shortest, but it's also the hardest. So I apologize. And before I go into it, I want to thank Sharon and the DevOps Days crew. A big round of applause because this is the one place on earth that I don't have to read that slide to anybody. It's amazing. So the idea here, without reading it, is that people think of building alerts as being, well, I built it and I gave it to them and I'm done. No, you're not. You need to plan to go back, whether it's once a quarter or every 6 months or whatever, and ask them, is it still doing what you needed? Have things changed? Did we capture the right information in the first place? Do you need something else? Do you need something new? Do I need to modify it? You have to go back over and over and over again. Because the reality is that tools change, users' needs change, we change, but the work never ends. So I said I might irritate you. If you're irritated, that's fine. I am ready for your questions. Thank you very much.